Hi, my name is John Whitehead. I'm an executive and leadership coach, and welcome to this week's video blog post in my series on the work of Kouzes and Posner's The Leadership Challenge, and in encouraging the heart, which is the final practice. And now we come to a really interesting behavior within that practice, and that is publicly recognizes people who exemplify commitment to shared values. Now, think about this for a second. Leaders that do extraordinary things or allow or make extraordinary things happen in organizations, what they tend to do is they tend to publicly recognize people who exemplify commitment to shared values. The shared values there is interesting. You know, I have a client that I was coaching, and who was, when I asked him about what his values are, I was one of the very, very few people who actually could give me his values like that, knew his values. And then we talked about how he transfers those values into the workplace. In other words, what his department's values are. They were very closely aligned to his personal values. And so when one of the things we worked on is how to get the staff buying into those values. How do you get the staff to recognize and understand what those values mean? And one of the things we talked about was recognizing individuals that demonstrated the values. So going back to what we talked about last week about actually giving people those the positive recognition versus the negative. And we're talking about encouraging the heart, right? Praising people, recognizing people. One of the things we talked about is rather than pointing out when people have done something wrong or fallen short, recognize when they've done something well and do it publicly. So on a whiteboard, they would have maybe an incident occurred and it was a positive outcome. He would write it up, put it up on the whiteboard with the person's name, and then link it to the value, right? Write the value, tie it to the value. And in staff meetings, he would talk about it, the situation, he would recognize the individual, and again, tie it to the value. So everything he would do, he would tie to the value. And so they was publicly recognizing that individual. Now, on the flip side, right, if somebody has fallen a little bit short, has done something that is counter to the values, those conversations he did have in private with those individuals. He has those in private. But the big celebratory ones in public, in staff meetings, in front of all the staff, and reward them. And we've talked about how we might reward them, whether it's a card for a couple of coffees, whether it is other kind of gift card, something, doesn't have to be big, major, but maybe once a month, pick one that was a major one and recognize that with some sort of financial recognition as well. So there's an idea that's building on encouraging the heart, and it's building on publicly recognizing people. I'm interested in what you may have done. Have you done something similar to that? Are you thinking of doing something similar to that? Why don't you let me know? Just write it in the comments and let me know what you think and what you're doing. I'd love to share that with the other individuals who watch this blog post, my subscribers on YouTube and on my website. Thanks very much for watching this week, and we'll talk to you again next week.